program made possible by Kentucky Circuit Court Clerks. Thank you for your support.
Hi, and welcome to Know More, the educational television series that takes a look at what life would be like without certain nonprofit services in your community. Today, we are at the Fayette County Driver's License Office, where I'm actually going to get a new driver's license. And while I'm doing that, we're going to take a look at a couple of really unbelievable programs that are working throughout the state of Kentucky to save lives. The Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates and Trust for Life work together to match organ donors with recipients. Let's go check it out while I get a new one of these.
There's a lot of people that need it and not enough donors, I guess. You just never know how long you're going to have to wait.
Organ donation is hope, legacy, a way to give back and can let people continue having their families as long as they can.
The Circuit Court Clerk's Office is the official record keeper of all court documents in our Fayette District and Circuit Courts. We are also the processor of driver's license and IDs in the county as well. The Circuit Court Clerks in 1992 lobbied the General Assembly to create the Trust for Life, and it is the charitable branch of the Kentucky Association of Circuit Court Clerks. That's been in effect since 1992. We ask that question of everyone that comes into our office, whether if they're having an ID or a driver's license, if they would like to donate or to be added to the registry. So because of our contact with the public, it just seems appropriate and symbiotic with our office to be part of this program. Over almost close to 62% of the people, citizens that come into our office are added to the donor registry at this point in time in Fayette County. That's a huge number, and we appreciate them. My favorite part of my job is being a public servant. I have always aspired to be a public servant. I like what I do. I like being in contact with the citizens, and we like having and being able to be involved in the Trust for Life program as well. And it's just a good way to give back that's at no cost to anyone as far as, you know, the programs that we provide.
Once you place your name on the registry, it doesn't mean that you'll ever become a donor. You're more likely to need a transplant than ever become a donor. But at least if they were on the list, that confidential list is a list of hope for those on that long waiting list. In Kentucky, there's nearly 1,000 people that woke up this morning on the waiting list, praying for the phone to ring that they have a match, and nearly 116,000 in the United States. And unfortunately, a name is added to that list every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, someone gets so sick that they need the gift of life to survive. And even more sad than that is that 22 people that woke up today won't wake up tomorrow because they didn't get the call in time. The people that are on the waiting list, we try so hard to show them that we're doing everything we can out in the communities to educate the communities, to grow the registry, so that they know that there's a better chance of them having a match to save their life later. So we definitely want their stories so that we can encourage them and lift them up.
Well, we are in Lexington today. I'm actually, I have a transplant appointment today, and then I have a CF clinic appointment after that today. Ever since I was listed for transplant, I've been coming every 3 months, And that's just basically just to check things out, how my health is doing, if they need to adjust some medications or something. I usually get blood work done. I do physical therapy consultation, pulmonary function test as well. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic lung disease. It's progressive. It affects your lungs and your digestive system. Sometimes it just depends on the mutation that you have, if it's worse or, less worse. I was diagnosed at birth, so I've lived with it my whole life. So it's part of me. I always describe it to people as I'm always sick with a cold, basically. My body doesn't absorb salt like it should, and the use of salt thins the mucus in the airways. And so it clogs the airways, and it scars the airways scars your lungs when you have infections and things like that. The more lung infections you have, the more scarring you're gonna have on your lungs. And the more your lungs are just gonna not, be there. Like they're not gonna be the same as they were the last time that you had an infection, Yes, there are limitations. Like right now I'm on oxygen. It makes it hard to go places or to travel or to, do things like that. But I'm not gonna completely stop my life just because these things in here ain't working. So, like they should. It's hard to take a shower without getting out of breath, That's the main one too. Climbing stairs. Stairs are out of the question for me. And that all depends on my health too. If I'm real sick, I can barely even get a shower without my oxygen. So in 2014, when my disease started really progressing, we had talked about transplant then. It didn't become a reality, and I wasn't listed until December in 2016. But yeah, I have to have an organ donor, and I have to have a bilateral lung transplant, which is 2 lungs at once. So in order for that to happen, my donor has to pass away, unfortunately. It's a lot to take in because, you almost have that guilt of, well, this person passed away so I could live, So that's hard. The wait is very nerve-wracking because you never know when that call is going to come. That's the thing. You never know. It could be midnight. It could be, Sunday afternoon. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Like, why am I waiting for lungs? You know what I mean? Like, the first thing I would do after my transplant and after I have recuperated is probably, I've always wanted to go to Greece. So that's probably one of the main ones. The second one would probably be taking a deep breath. So yeah, taking a deep breath and not having a coughing attack or, things like that. I am working with Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates in Louisville. So any opportunity that they allow me to, any opportunity that they give me, I try to take on. Because it's a perspective that I feel like that I can change the world. I feel like I can change the list. I can diminish the list one step at a time, and one person at a time.
I know that all of us would want our loved one to never have to wait and be ill. That we'd want them to have their transplant yesterday. And the average wait's 4 years. And to watch someone's loved one be sick that long and not know if the cure's coming would be so hard to deal with. So we absolutely need more people on the registry so that we can change that. We need everyone to join the registry. Anyone and everyone can join the registry. There's nothing that would keep them or prevent them from putting their name on the list. The more names we have on the registry, the more likelihood we'll have a gift for someone when they're in desperate need.
So I was just going to class at Georgetown College and everything was fine. Went to a basketball game one night, came home for the weekend, went back to school, noticed that my legs were swollen. So I'm like, oh, something's not right. I weighed myself, I gained 15 pounds within a week. So I just noticed like my legs kept swelling. They were like this big one night. So my mom called and got me an appointment to the doctor, and they ran some lab work and did a CT and an ultrasound on my liver, and my liver enzymes were elevated like 3 times the normal, and so was referred to UK Chandler Hospital, the ER. They admitted me that night, and then someone brought up that it could be Wilson's disease, which is a genetic disorder which your body accumulates too much copper and can't get rid of it. I was tested Wednesday. Thursday I found out the results and that I had Wilson's disease, which it can be treated with medication if found in time, but if not, it's fatal. I met with the transplant team and they're like, we'll start you on this medication for it. You're nowhere near a transplant, but we're just gonna keep an eye on you just in case things get worse. So 3 hours after I talked to them, I was on a ventilator. Yeah, just rapidly like progressed and got worse. So. I usually don't make it this far without crying.
You did good.
Yeah, I'm just getting nervous. Okay. So the last thing I remember before waking up after my surgery was telling my sister that I loved her. They did a plasmapheresis, and they said my blood was the color of coffee. I went from not being anywhere near a transplant to #1 on the list, and they found a liver less than 12 hours. I knew I was blessed. I knew that there was going to be changes in my life of daily life with medications and stuff, but I was okay with that. I was just really happy that I got the second chance. A couple weeks after my surgery, I was like, take me to the courthouse, I'm signing up to be a donor. I've heard different stories of people with transplants and what they've been through, and everyone is so unique. I think mainly people don't sign up to be organ donors because they don't know what they could potentially do in the future if they had the opportunity to help someone, and what it truly means to someone that's been on the other side. Any chance I get to promote, I take it. I think donor families should be proud that their loved ones are someone's hero. I think people need to realize that transplant patients are just normal people, that, yeah, they're still like fighting and the battle of trying to stay healthy and whatnot, but organ donation helps them live their normal life. Never in a million years I would have thought this would have happened to me, and I wouldn't change a thing.
My previous career has been in nursing and education. I was a hospice nurse. Then I got into education, so I kind of came full circle and got into the helping kids determine which path they wanted to go in the medical field. And I had CODA speakers come into my classroom and speak, and knew that that was definitely a passion that I had, and I would love to be able to spread the word of hope as much as they did. Myths happen because someone was told something by what they thought was a reliable source, and they didn't investigate the truths. And that's what we try to do in our department, is to dispel those myths. One of the largest ones we hear is that they won't try to save me if I'm in an accident. And that is so far from the truth. Their passion and their job is to try and save you. That's their career, that's their license. Of course they want to save you. Plus, if they weren't trying to save you and keeping oxygen going to those organs, they could not become a gift of life. It has to happen in a hospital on a ventilator for oxygen support to the organs at all times. And the match process is lengthy, and the discussion with the families is extensive so that they understand the process when they're making that decision. One of the other myths is that I'm too old or worn out and they wouldn't want anything I have. And that's very far from the truth too. Our oldest donor in Kentucky was 84 and saved 3 people's lives. And the oldest tissue donor in the United States was 107 and was able to give sight to 2 people so they could see their loved ones' faces. That's the most awesome gift. So no, we're never too old or worn out. There's no illness, no diagnosis, no social status that's going to keep us from being on the registry and giving that hope. Each person has to make their own informed decision, and when they're educated, they can do that. Many people mistake brain death and coma as one and the same, and it's not. A coma is a deep sleep. When you get your tonsils out or your wisdom teeth cut out, they do a medicated coma and they wake you up and you go about your normal daily life. Brain death is totally not that. When oxygen is cut off from the brain cells die permanently. And when the brain can no longer function to tell the heart to beat and the lungs to breathe, they're considered brain dead. And that's the only time that someone can become an organ donor. Only 1% of the people are going to die in a way that they can become an organ donor. We're going to die of things like dementia or old age or a sudden heart attack, not brain death. So it's very rare, and that makes me sad because I definitely want to be able to help someone with a gift.
Someone in your family or someone that you know has been touched by organ donation. I know that I had a good friend that received a heart transplant. She lived for 8 years more than she would have. And to this day, I always think about her and put that in perspective of someone that I've known. When it touches you personally, it makes the difference when you ask that question. When I'm working at the counter with driver's license and IDs and I look at these posters on the wall and see those faces, that puts it in perspective for me, and I think it puts it in perspective for others as well. We're doing our very best to get you what you need and to assist you, and we know that it's possible because we see these faces on our walls of people that have received organs that have been donated, and we know it's possible.
You know, my family's been touched on both sides. We've had transplants, we've had those that did not get the call in time. But my son-in-law's brother, and you know, my son-in-law's my family and his family's my family. And my son-in-law's brother suddenly collapsed for no known reason. They never determined a reason why. And when he died of a brain death, he left a wife and 3 little girls under the age of 6. And their lives are changed forever. And Tim was the best daddy in the world. He could curl hair and paint fingernails with the best of them, put makeup on for cheerleading competitions. I tell all my people that I talk to, you'd have to work really hard to be as good a daddy as Tim. And CODA always lets the families, donor families, know a gender and an age that a donated organ went to save a life. And the one thing that Tim's wife Amy wanted to know was that she sure hoped a daddy got something so that they could be a daddy a little bit longer. And when they got the letter, the very first paragraph was that a 42-year-old daddy still gets to be daddy. Tim's legacy lives on. Something good has to come out of something so tragically sad. It's the only thing that helps our hearts to heal and lets us go on. So knowing that it's not in vain is crucial. Knowing that other families get to enjoy their families the way that we enjoy ours, it's the only thing that can get people through grief. So it absolutely is the right thing to do. If CODA and Trust for Life wasn't here to educate and to recover the gift of life and to be able to give life to other people, that would just be so devastating. I can't imagine needing an organ to cure my family member and not to ever have one available. Just to be able to have more time with their family, another birthday, another time around the Christmas tree together as a family, whether it's 1 year or 25 years. The gift of life is precious, and we absolutely want to honor that.
A lot more people wouldn't get the same opportunities like I have. I think that without CODA, a big part of organ donation awareness would just be non-existent.
If that nonprofit's not there, then I won't get to live. I will have to face the fact of my disease is terminal, and it's progressing, and I don't know if there'll be a cure before, if I were to pass away. There may not be a cure. It would be very surreal and very heartbreaking, for my family, for other families, because they know, well, organ donation doesn't exist anymore, so my kid's not gonna live. So it's a reality that they would have to face, and I would have to face.
People would die. People would not live the life that they could have lived had there been organ donation. It's that simple. It affects people's lives, it affects their children, their grandparents. Without organ donation and the program, people would not live or could not live a fulfilling life. It's that simple.
I've given a few speeches, actually quite a few, around the state, and I always ended saying, I would like to be someone's hero one day.
It's impacting, it is, and I've seen it in person, and it's important. Anybody can come in at any time to add their name to the registry. You do not have to wait until your driver's license or ID is expired. We're here, 5 days a week, some days 6. You can also go online to the Trust for Life website as well and add your name to the registry. So it's very simple, and you can do it anytime.
I always try to tell people, you were put here for a reason, and you can help save someone's life. You can give somebody a new heartbeat. You can give somebody sight. You can give somebody the ability to breathe in and out. There's kids who need hearts, or kids who need lungs, and they're not ever going to get that unless another kid, their size basically is able to donate that. And it can't be their decision, it has to be their parents' decision.
I'm here because someone was unselfish and gave the gift of life. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
One of my favorite sayings is that everyone is somebody's someone, and that someone deserves a chance to be with their family as long as they can. When we don't need what we have anymore, we need to pass that along to let somebody else have that extra time with their family.
Because you're not going to need them where you go. you know, so might as well leave part of yourself here and allow your family to be happy that they did that, because they can still hear your heartbeat. They can still hear your lungs breathe.
Thank you so much. You too. There we go. It's that easy. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Know More, and more importantly, that you learned how easy it is to save a life and be part of an organ donor program in your community. Until next time, I'm Kyle Lake, asking you to know more.